A bull's positive skin test set off a legal battle that reached the High Court, split a nation, and united Hindus across Britain behind one black Friesian named Shambo. And on the 26th of July 2007, he was led away and slaughtered anyway. Here is why a single animal mattered so much. Shambo was not livestock. He was a sacred animal, adopted by the local Hindu community at the interfaith Skanda Vale Temple near Ambience in Wales, and to the monks who cared for him, his life was inseparable from a core belief of their faith, that all life is sacred. The trouble began in April 2007. A routine skin test for bovine tuberculosis came back positive. That result did not mean Shambo was visibly sick. It meant he may have come into contact with Mycobacterium bovis, the slow-growing bacterium that causes tuberculosis in cattle. Under Welsh Government policy, cattle that test positive are culled to protect other local herds, so the authorities ordered Shambo to be put down. Skanda Vale refused to accept it. The community disputed the order and campaigned for a reprieve, arguing that the sanctity of all life is the cornerstone of Hinduism. They were backed by the wider Hindu religious community across the country. On the other side stood local farmers, who supported the government's line. An animal that tests positive is a risk to every other animal around it, and the rule exists for the good of the whole herd. Then the case turned. On the 15th of July 2007, Deputy High Court Judge Gary Hickinbottom ruled that slaughtering Shambo would be unlawful. The two slaughter orders, he found, had failed to give enough weight to the rights of the monks. Killing the bull, he said, would violate the human rights of the Skanda Vale community, which had a right to manifest its religious faith. For a moment, a bull had won in the High Court, and the monks believed they had saved him. It did not hold. The reprieve was overturned, and 11 days after that ruling, Shambo was taken from the temple and slaughtered. He had been born around 2001, which made him only about 6 years old. To understand the collision, it helps to know both sides of it. Shambo was a Holstein Friesian, sometimes just called Holstein Friesian, or simply black and white. It is the dominant breed in industrial dairy farming, found in more than 160 countries, an animal usually counted by the herd and by the litre, never by name. And Hinduism is a minority religion in Wales, making up just 0.4% of the population, with under half of Welsh Hindus having settled there in the second half of the 20th century. A small community had turned one ordinary dairy bull into a test of whether faith could override farm policy. The disease at the center of it all is why the government would not bend. Mycobacterium bovis is closely related to the bacterium that causes tuberculosis in humans. Crucially, it can jump the species barrier, causing tuberculosis-like infection in people and in other mammals. That single fact reframes the whole dispute. To the monks, Shambo was a sacred life. To the veterinary authorities, a positive test was a potential path for a dangerous infection to move from cattle into other animals and even into humans, and that risk was not something a court victory could argue away. What made Shambo's story endure was that neither side was simply wrong. One held that all life is sacred and must be defended. The other held that a contagious disease respects no belief, and that protecting the many can demand a hard, unwelcome act. The case forced a rare public question with no comfortable answer when a deeply held faith and a public health rule point in opposite directions. Which one is allowed to win, and who gets to decide? That's it for this one. Watch this next: why Princess Mononoke beat every Hollywood film in 1997.